Hey guys, it's Alex here from Simple Mods and welcome back to another video. This will be the start of another case mod series for my Project Shady build in the in-wind D-frame mini. I'm currently working on 3 custom case mods which all need to be finished over the next 4 weeks, so it's definitely getting pretty tight with all my deadlines. Now, Project Shady is actually a very special build for me, and it is one that I do not want to rush going into. So I am actually dedicating this build in the memory of my dog Shady, hence why I called it Project Shady. Shady was a black Labrador and he was nearly 11 years old last year when he unfortunately passed away. Shady was with our family since he was about 4 weeks old, and I pretty much grew up alongside him. So he was there during my high school years as well as my university years afterwards, and he's definitely very much missed by us all. So I've been thinking, what better way to honor his memory than doing what I know best and creating a kick-ass case modded system that's going to be sitting on my desk and reminding me of all the happy memories that we've created together. Now, you may have seen another video that I did a short while ago unveiling the project and showing off the custom painted in-wind D-frame mini chassis. In this video, I'll quickly walk you through the painting process, what I did and what I used to achieve this finish, as well as show you the rest of the progress that I've made on the build so far. Now, the chassis already had a custom chrome paint finish on it and had gone pretty bad with age, and it also made the chassis very sticky even though the paint on it was already quite old. So I started sanding it off as much as I could, as I did not want to get a bad reaction with the new paint going over the old paint. I also used Rust-Oleum paint removal spray and pretty much managed to get the case to a near bare aluminium, ready for a fresh new coat of paint. I also used a filler to fill up some of the rubber feet holes on the case that I did not want to use. I filled up pretty much all of them except for 4 of them that I left on the bottom, which will act as the case feet. I let the filler dry and harden up overnight, and then the next day I sanded it down using my Dremel rotary tool and then sanded over with some 400 and 800 grit sandpaper for a smoother finish. The chassis was now ready for priming, so the primer that I used is from Septone, and it is a super etch primer. You'll be able to find this at most automotive stores, and it's a very good and solid primer. I did 3 coats of this primer, however I had to rotate the case on multiple sides to ensure I get a good even finish due to the complex angles that it has. So the priming pretty much took me an entire day to do. I did about 3 coats, waited about 5 minutes in between each coat, and then about an hour before I could handle the case so that I could then turn it over on a new side and apply 3 more coats of paint. So I did this about 4 times from all different angles of the case to ensure a good and even finish. Once the primer coat was done and I was happy with it, I applied my custom gold color. So this is an automotive acrylic paint that I'm using, which is a custom mix put in an aerosol can for easy application if you don't have a spray gun and a compressor setup that you can easily apply it with. I get this from VG Auto Paints in Sydney, and it's a very good quality paint that's very solid, and you can get a professional automotive-like finish with it. So with this type of paint, if applied right, you can get a pro finish from an aerosol can similar to that found on cars. It's a bit more expensive, and if you are looking for something like this, then you will need to find a similar store in your area, as you can't just buy this sort of paint from hardware store or just any automotive store. Bill Owen, actually from MNPC Tech, most of you guys that are into case modding will probably know who he is. He recently did a video using a very similar paint that is also a custom mix, which you can actually order online if you're in the USA. So I'll put some links in the description to the video that he did on his channel, and then the place that he recommended was scratchwizard.net, where you can order the paint from online and you can get sort of different custom colors from there. So VG Auto Paints in Australia, they do have an online store as well, although I'm not sure if you can actually order the custom mix paints from the online store. And then in the US, it is scratchwizard.net. I applied about 5 coats of this paint, again following the same process I did with the primer, where I had to wait and turn the case on multiple sides in order to get a nice and even finish. Once I finished applying the custom gold paint, I waited about 3 days or so to ensure that the paint was fully dry and cured before applying this custom special effects marble paint over it. So this is from Dulux, and it's very similar to the granite paint effect that I used on my Game of Thrones custom server build. So you can also find videos about that build on the channel as well. Now this paint is much easier to get a hold of, and you can actually find it at most hardware stores if you're looking at doing something like this. I waited about 24 hours for the marble paint effect to dry and cure before spraying the chassis with this Rust-Oleum gloss clear in order to make the finish shine a bit more and also add an extra layer of protection over the custom paint. Now this is the end result that took me about 2 weeks or so to finish, with all of the multiple coats of paint, waiting times, and that I had to sort of squeeze in between my full-time job and also working on other projects as well. Now I'm definitely very happy with the way it has turned out, and if you're wondering why I went with the gold color, that is because I am actually using the EK Supremacy Evo 10th anniversary CPU water block, which they only made 100 of these, and it's a very limited run. So again, given the importance and what this build actually means to me, I really wanted to use sort of the best and most unique components that I could actually get my hands on, hence going with the gold color scheme to sort of match with the block. And I also do think that the gold color scheme is a good representation of what I'm trying to achieve with this build. The other progress that I've made has involved cutting and creating an entirely new motherboard tray that I did out of 2mm thick aluminum using my jigsaw, along with some filing and sanding, and this is the end result. As you can see, the original tray wouldn't cut it for me with all the pre-mounted holes and other cutouts that I wasn't going to use. So I used it to trace out the shape for the new tray, and then I drilled my own motherboard standoff holes. I am installing an MATX motherboard with the chassis originally only supporting mini ITX motherboards, and this is the Asus X99M workstation. It is, in my opinion, one of the best MATX X99 motherboards available out there, and it will house my 6950X CPU quite nicely. So I'm using these 25mm standoffs to mount the motherboard tray offset from the back in order to have room for the cables behind it, and then I'm also using taller 15mm standoffs for the motherboard itself to raise it up so that I can feed the cables from the back underneath the motherboard through the hole that I cut out in the middle of the new tray. As you can see, the motherboard fits quite nicely on the new motherboard tray. Now the GPUs that I'm using are two Founders Edition GTX 1080 Ti's, which air-cooled fit in very nice and snug on this motherboard. However, everything will be water-cooled, of course. I'll also have to figure out how to secure the GPUs, as there are no PCIe brackets, so I'll have to cover this in the next video part of this case mod series. So the next thing that I need to do is to mount the radiators, and I'm using two 240mm EK rads, the Coolstream PE240 and the SE240. So one is about 30mm thick and the other is about 40. I also have 4 of these new EK Vadar Evo fans with 0 decibel total silence feature with PWM control, which is a very nice feature that I'm keen to check out further. So I'll perhaps have to cover this in another video as well. Now you can get an idea of how I plan to mount the radiators here with the slimmer one at the bottom in order to have clearance for the two 1080 Ti graphics cards. And the way I'm mounting them is using these XSPC rad stands that I got from performancepcs.com, which will allow me to easily mount them to the side of the new motherboard tray. Now the final piece that I'll show you is this SwiftDeck reservoir that I also picked up from Performance PCs. It's an older SwiftDeck model that you can't really find so easily anymore, so I'm lucky that I managed to get my hands on one of them, as it will fit in quite nicely with this build. Now if you couldn't tell already, the build will be pretty crammed as I'm utilizing every inch of this chassis. Therefore the reservoir will be mounted on the back somewhere in this area here. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the update. We'll continue to follow this case mod series. I'll be showing you how I mount the rads, the reservoir, as well as make further cutouts in the motherboard tray for some cables, as well as water cooling hard tube pass-throughs from the front section of the case to the back side where the reservoir will be, so everything can connect nice and neat in there. So if you guys enjoyed this video, then hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to my channel, and check out some of my other videos, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.